Hi, I'm Hayat Bain, and these are my friends Cheryl Good and Danita Roundtree Green. And we're with the organization Coming to the Table in RVA. And today's day 44 of the Richmond Public Library's 100 Days RVA Reads.
Yay!
A program promoting PBS and WCVE's The Great American Read. And today we're at Linden Row Inn. It's just so beautiful. The surroundings, the art, local art. It's just a lovely environment to have this in. And Danita was just going to talk a little bit about why we chose the Linden Row Inn.
Well, yes, but I think first we need to let the audience know that we chose The Help.
Oh,
as
I
a
was
book.
going by the script.
I'm sorry. All right, this is The Help, because the book had a lot to do with the choice of location.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, Linden Row Inn is just a beautiful, beautiful place. And it was founded in the 1800s, and just like a lot of the hotels in Richmond and the surrounding area, they had a lot of blacks in servitude here, a lot of domestics, even up to my mother's generation, because she was also a domestic for a short time in the city. But what I do know about the history here is that, and it is a proud history that Linden Row has, they have always been a great champion of art and culture and moving the culture forward as far as being progressive. A lot of people don't know that this was the home of two girls' schools, one of them that I think matured into what we now call St. Catherine's. And also this was a haunt of Edgar Allan Poe. And he came here and wrote beautiful literature, and a piece in particular that was dedicated to his wife about the gardens here at Linden Row. But as far as moving the culture forward, they've been a great how do you say that word? I said it before, I can't say it now.
Proponent?
There you go. Of education and for women and also of people of color. So yay, Linden Row. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. And we chose this book, The Help, by Catherine Stockett. And many people have seen the movie, but perhaps maybe not as many people that I know of at least have read the book. And so it's a real opportunity to connect more deeply with the characters, because the different characters are voicing each chapter. So I found that an interesting part of reading the book. And it was important to me. It started out being my book, and then gradually we ended up saying, why don't we do a Coming to the Table reading of the book for our organization, because we're all about helping America get beyond the legacy of enslavement. And so this book is all about working in those areas, working around racism, and the book is written from the point of view of people in the 1960s, the early 60s, and that's kind of shocking to me in a certain way, because I was born in 1960 and I didn't grow up in the Deep South where the book is set in Jackson, Mississippi. And so just personally, it's interesting to read about something that I did not actually experience in my town when I was little, growing up in New York. Now I understand a lot more, partly because we did a pilgrimage, three of us, along with several other people from Coming to the Table, went on a Living Legacy pilgrimage into the Deep South, into Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee with 40 some odd other people. It's called the Living Legacy Pilgrimage. And so I feel like I have much more of a context in which to understand the story of the Help and what that's all about. And please say more, because I feel like I'm babbling.
Well, no, I don't think you're babbling, but just to give people more of an idea of what Coming to the Table is, it is a racial healing and reconciliation organization. And we have a large chapter. In fact, we have the largest chapter in the city of Richmond than anywhere in the nation. Now, at the beginning of the year, we had 27 chapters, and now we have 32.
Something like that.
So, but we're still the largest, and we're very, very proud of that, and we do a lot of things. Cheryl here, I would say, also leads our book club. So even though this particular one wasn't on our list, we read a lot of books, all dedicated to racial healing and social justice. So I really thought you did a great job picking this book because so much of the book is conversations between women, and some of them center around the kitchen and food. And coming to the table is all about that hospitality of bringing people into a comfortable space and talking about very complex issues, and all of those complex issues are in this book.
Yep.
So it was the perfect read for our group. So I'm glad to have it. Glad you chose this one.
Cool. So I guess we could do our reading of the little excerpts, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Well, I always pick the hard thing. So I think this is out of chapter 18 when Skeeter, who is one of the pivotal characters, and she is Caucasian American. She's a white woman, and she wants to. She's a young woman who doesn't necessarily want to follow the traditional Southern path of marrying well and being part of the bridge club in the junior league. She has ambitions to be a writer, and she wants to get a job with Harper and Row, which is at that time the largest publisher in New York. So she decides that she's going to write them a letter and ask if she could write for them, and they said absolutely not. Write something first, and then we'll decide if you can write for us. So Miss Stein, who was actually the name of the real editor at the time, suggested that she write about what she knows, and all she knows about is where she came up in Jackson, Mississippi. So she starts to collect all of these wonderful stories about the domestic help. And because she wanted the world to know that they weren't just that. These were the women who raised her in her lifetime. So this particular passage here is when she's first just really starting. She's at Abilene's home, and the women are coming in. All of the black domestics are coming in one at a time, and she's listening to their stories. There is undisguised hate for white women. There is also inexplicable love. Faybelle, palsied in grayskin, cannot remember her own age. Her stories unfold like soft linen. She remembers hiding in a steamer trunk with a little white girl while Yankee soldiers stomped through the house. 20 years ago, she held that same white girl, by then an old woman, in her arms while she died. Each proclaimed their love as best friends, swore that death could not change this, that color meant nothing. The white woman's grandson still pays Faybelle's rent. When she's feeling strong, Faybelle sometimes goes over and cleans up his kitchen. Lavinia is my 5th interview. She is Luann Templeton's maid, and I recognize her from always serving me at Bridge Club. Lavinia tells me how her grandson, Robert, was blinded early this year by some white man because he used a white bathroom. I recall reading about this in the paper as Lavinia reads, waits for me, and catches up. I try to catch up with my typewriter. Angry stories come out of white men who tried to touch them. Winnie said that she was forced over and over. Clementine said she fought until this guy's face bled, and he never tried again. But the dichotomy of love, I say, and disdain, living side by side, black and white, is what surprises me. Most are invited to attend the white children's weddings, but only in their domestic uniforms. These things I know already, yet hearing them from colored mouths, the mouths I love, it is as if I am hearing them for the first time. And I chose that because in coming to the table, when we sit down to tell our stories, it's so often that we live with hearing our own history coming from someone else's mouth from the first time. And it struck me that even when this when the characters in this book came together to do it in the 1960s, here we are in 2018, and in some ways it's still that hard to come together and to be able to listen to a history that's shared, that it's different, you know, depending on who's telling the story. And for that reason, I think this book resonated for me in a very big way.
I like that passage, but it's kind of a little painful to hear it.
Yeah.
So the part that I wanted to read, I guess to set the stage for this, there's a women's league that meets, I can't remember, I think it's the Junior League, but it's all white women in Jackson, Mississippi, and fairly well-to-do families, like upper middle class, I'd say. And Skeeter, who you just talked about, the writer, she's the editor of the newsletter for this group, and they want her to put something in the newsletter about Hilly, one of the white women who's like the leader of this group, wants to put something in the newsletter about a bathroom initiative, and it's about having separate bathrooms in each home for colored women, as they say colored women. And so Hilly has been avoiding putting this message in the newsletter because she really cares about some of these women, and in general I think cares about them to the degree she's able to, but she has herself gotten very close to some of the women, and so she's relating to them, and so she doesn't like this idea of this separate but equal bathroom initiative. And so some of the women have already built bathrooms in their garages or attached to their house, but having an outside entrance for the maids that work for them. All right, so here's the reading. It ain't but 8:30 on Monday morning. This is from the point of view of Abeline, one of the maids. It ain't but 8:30 on Monday morning, but Miss Leafold's phone already ringing its head off. Miss Leafold's residence. Put Elizabeth on the phone. I go tell Miss Leafold. She get out of bed, shuffle in the kitchen in her rollers and nightgown, pick up the receiver. Miss Hilly sound like she using a megaphone, not a telephone. I can hear every word. Have you been by my house? What? What are you talking? She put in the newsletter about the toilets. I specifically said old coats are to be dropped off at my house, not let me get my mail. I don't know what you're talking about. When I find her, I'll kill her myself. The line crashed down in Miss Leafold's ear. She stand there a second staring at it, then throw a housecoat over her nightgown. I've got to go, she says, scrambling around for her keys. I'll be back. She run all pregnant out the door and tumble in her car and speed off. I look down at May Mobley, who's her toddler, Elizabeth's toddler, and she look up at me. Don't ask me, baby girl. I don't know either. What I do know is Hilly and her family drove in this morning from a weekend in Memphis. Whenever Miss Hilly gone, that's all Miss Leafold talk about, is where she is and when she's coming back. Come on, baby girl, I say after a while. Let's take a walk and find out what's going on. We walk up Divine, turn left, then left again, and up Miss Hilly's street, which is Myrtle. Even though it's August, it's a nice walk. Ain't too hot yet. Birds is zipping around singing. May Mobley holding my hand, and we swinging our arms, having a good old time. Lots of cars passing us today, which is strange, because Myrtle a dead end. We turn the bend to Miss Tilly's great big white house, and there they is. May Mobley point and laugh. Look, A.B. I've never in my life seen a thing like this. 3 dozen of them, pots, right smack on Miss Hilly's lawn, all different colors and shapes and sizes. Some's blue, some is pink, some is white, some ain't got no ring, some ain't got no tank. They's old ones, young ones, chain on top and flush with the handle. Almost look like a crowd of people the way some got their lids open talking, some with the lids closed listening. We move over into the drainage ditch, cause the traffic on this little street's starting to build up. People's driving down, circling around the little island of grass at the end with the windows down, laughing out loud, saying, "Look at Hilly's house. Look at those things." Staring at them toilets like they'd never seen one before. 1, 2, 3, made Mobley start counting them. She'd get to 12 and I got to take over. 29, 30, 31, 32 commodes, baby girl. We get a little closer and now I see they ain't just all over the yard. There's 2 in the driveway side by side like they a couple. There's 1 on the front step like it's waiting for Miss Hilly to answer the door. Ain't that one funny with but baby girl done broke off my hand. She's running in the yard and get to the pink pot in the middle and pull up the lid. Before I know it, she done pulled down her panties and tinkled in it, and I'm chasing after her with a half a dozen horns honking and a man in a hat taking pictures. Miss Leafelt's car in the drive behind Miss Hilly's, but they ain't in sight. They must be inside yelling about what they gonna do with this mess. Curtains is drawn, and I don't see no stirring. I cross my fingers, hope they didn't catch baby girl making potty for half of Jackson to see.
Wow.
It's time to go on back. And I think I'm going to stop there because, well, wait, let me just say one more thing because this is kind of funny and sad all at the same time. She's talking about how it made the front page of the Jackson Journal. I got to say it's a funny looking sight. I just wish it was in color so you could compare all of them shades of pink and blue and white. Desegregation of the toilet bowls is what they should have called it. The headlines say, come on by, have a seat. They ain't no article to go with it, just the picture and a little caption saying, the home of Hilly and William Holbrook of Jackson, Mississippi was a sight to see this morning. So that was, I just thought that it made light of a really difficult situation, difficult subject.
And it did, and you know, when people who have seen the movie, that's the part I think most people remember most.
Yeah.
You know, the toilet scene, and it suggests a lot of different things. But you know, I would say, and most people run to see the movie, but I think the book was so much better than the movie.
It was really good.
I didn't see the movie. I read the book. Now, I read the book when it first came out, but I read the book, but I never saw the movie. So, when you read that, it's like, oh, I remember that. I remember that. Hilarious.
Yeah.
I think that was really good. So,
And we were, Danita and I were saying that we've listened to the Audible version or
Yes.
an Audible version, and that we really like that because different voices are reading each chapter based on the characters, the main characters, and you really, it's almost like a play getting to hear each voice.
It is.
Reading each chapter.
Okay. So, you know, when I got the list from about the 100 days, I was really impressed with how many books that were on the list that were right on target with social justice and just really people are really reading about social justice and race issues now. So, and not just now, you know, I would think, you know, this has been an odyssey that's been going on for many, many, many years. And just to know that our library here is on top of that. And there are organizations here in Richmond that can, you know, people can come to and have the same conversation so we can continue to move forward on these issues. Exactly. That's a really wonderful thing.
And it's not all women, by the way.
Oh no, it's not all women. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of us, but
Yeah.
you know, we're not all women. So we have guys, and we have just anybody who wants to come, and we have young people too, from college educated people, and high schoolers come and hang out with us sometimes. So that's awesome. So I think we should close up. So we don't want to tell them too much because we want them to come to a coming to the table meeting.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll even have a coming to the table meeting at Linden Road, or better yet, we'll
I
have
thought
one
about that.
at the Richmond Public Library.
Oh, that would be
Oh,
great.
that'd be
That would
cool.
be great. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all 100 books of the Great American Read are available at your local Richmond library. To be a reader or to find out where the next reading is, visit rvalibrary.org/100days. Join our Facebook group and subscribe to your YouTube channel at Richmond Public Library 100 Days.
All right.